some opening remarks from Ann Wilmer, the Acting Chief Operating Officer of Prosper Africa, which is a whole of a government initiative. Ann leads the Prosper Africa Executive Secretariat based in Washington. She has previously served on the National Security Council staff as a director for Egypt and Jordan, and held a number of policy and foreign assistance positions within the U.S. government. Ann, we're glad to have you this morning. I will pull up the slides, and please, Ann, the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit about Prosper Africa, the Prosper Africa Initiative.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephen. And many thanks to all of you for making the time to be here today. It's a pleasure to be joined by the CrossBoundary team, who we're proud to have as an implementing partner on the new Prosper Africa virtual deal room, as well as Jason Grove from Abbott, a giant in the health tech space. And I'm especially looking forward to hearing about new investment opportunities from MedSafe, Africa Health Holdings, TKBD Equipment, and CTI Health. I'll keep my comments brief so we can really dive right into the discussion. But if you take one thing away from today, I hope it's this. There are significant opportunities for U.S. investment in Africa. And through Prosper Africa, the U.S. government has the tools to help you take advantage of those opportunities. So as Stephen said, Prosper Africa is a U.S. government initiative to substantially increase two-way trade and investment between the United States and Africa. We do this by bringing together and leveraging all of the U.S. government's trade and investment services and resources to help African and American firms do business. I'm pleased to share that in our first year, Prosper Africa directly supported more than 280 successful deals across more than 30 African countries for a total value of over $22 billion in new exports and investments. We're building on this momentum, poised to do even more. So I think we can go to the next slide, Stephen. Through Prosper Africa, the U.S. government offers firms a full support package that includes market intelligence, matchmaking, investment facilitation, and more. Here's just one example of what the support looks like in action. We recently helped Field Intelligence, an African health tech company, secure $3.6 million in investment. They're using that investment to help pharmacies manage their inventory and stock high-quality medicines, a critical innovation in the wake of COVID-19. We're looking forward to working with all of you and the health tech entrepreneurs who are joining us today to drive more impactful and profitable investments like this one. We can move to the next slide, please. This is why we've launched a new tool in the U.S. government's Trade and Investment Toolkit. The new Prosper Africa Virtual Deal Room gives U.S. investors access to deals curated by on-the-ground experts, including our deal teams at embassies across the African continent. Before I pass the floor to Stephen and the Deal Room support team, so we can hear more about this exciting tool, I want to say how much I'm looking forward to today's conversation. I hope you will continue to engage with our team by registering for the Deal Room, accessing our digital toolkit of U.S. government services, and sharing your insights. We're hard at work all across the U.S. government to make this initiative meaningful and impactful for all of you. And we welcome your questions and your feedback. Over to you, Stephen.
Thank you, Ann. As Ann mentioned, the Prosper Africa Virtual Deal Room is just one of the many ways that Prosper Africa is fulfilling its mission to increase two-way trade investment between the United States and Africa. While this is an external-facing tool, as Ann mentioned, there are lots of additional areas of support you can get from the U.S. government, from the agencies involved in Prosper Africa, and from the embassy deal teams in the missions. Like Ann, I would encourage all of you, if you haven't already done so, to register for the Prosper Africa Virtual Deal Room. The website is there on the screen. We are continuously adding new transactions to the Prosper Africa Virtual Deal Room, and CrossBoundary is proud to be an implementing partner with Prosper Africa on this important initiative. Today, we're going to focus on health tech and healthcare investments, and we're going to showcase 4 of the companies on the Virtual Deal Room. But the Virtual Deal Room really encompasses, many sectors from all across the continent. For registered users, they can go onto the site. They can search transactions by deal size, by deal type, by sector, by country. So you can really target what you're looking for and what meets with your investment criteria. Once you access the site and find transactions that you're interested in, you can register your interest in those transactions, and a member of the Prosper Africa team will be in touch with you to understand your investment criteria, and to connect you with the entrepreneurs and the companies themselves. You're not going to find all the information you need on the virtual deal room. So we really would encourage you to go on, find the opportunities that are most of interest, and connect with those opportunities, and we'll put you directly in touch with the entrepreneurs. The last thing I will say is just, this is the first of a series of events we're planning. We focused on healthcare, not just because it's very timely given what's going on in the world today, but this is a sector that has consistently attracted lots of investment into Africa, including many investments from US companies. We will be running future events. The next one is going to be focused on female founders and female entrepreneurs. So if you register for the site, you will be added to the list for that event, and you can register for that event coming up in early March. Before we get into today's panelists, we wanted to invite one of the US companies that's been most active in Africa, Abbott, to tell you a little bit about their initiatives on the continent and why they're so excited to be working in Africa. Jason, I believe you were on the call. Let's give you a minute to, there you are, Jason. Thank you very much. Jason, let me introduce you very, very quickly, and then I'll turn the floor over to you. Jason leads international government affairs at Abbott. Since joining Abbott in 2006, he's held a variety of roles on both US and the international affairs team. He is responsible and represents Abbott on a number of US agency commissions and committees, and like myself, is a proud graduate of Georgetown University. So Jason, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be here, and I always enjoy talking about Africa, and particularly the Prosper Africa initiative, which I think has been something the business community has been looking for some time. So whatever we can do to help make it a success, we are happy to do. So just to give you a quick snapshot about Abbott in Africa, we've been operating on the continent for decades. Our initial focus was in the area of HIV/AIDS. We were the first back in the 1980s to introduce an FDA-approved blood test to detect the virus. And since then, we really have developed an expertise in infectious disease diagnostics that are used to combat several epidemics, not just HIV, AIDS, but also malaria, hepatitis, tuberculosis, and clearly now the COVID-19 pandemic. And through those efforts, we have developed a large business in Africa, and one that I think is fairly unique if you look across the different geographies that we work, because it really is dependent on strong collaborations that we have with country governments, international financing institutions, NGOs, implementing programs on the ground, and very importantly, the various US government agencies responsible for global health and development programs in Africa. What we've learned is that if you really want to succeed in this sector, you need to balance the need for financial returns, which obviously drives us all as businesses, with the need to really deliver increased access to care. And that requires partnerships to advance standards, build affordable integrated solutions, and take them to scale. To make those partnerships work, you need to understand from your local partner what the real challenges are on the ground and what their goals and objectives are. It's only with that knowledge that you can design, build, and implement a solution together. You also need to invest in local capabilities to make your successes sustainable. I'll give you one example. Uganda is among the highest burdened countries in the world for malaria, and the government there has an ambitious plan to move towards total elimination and drastically reduce malaria-related morbidity and mortality. As they shared their plan with us, it became clear that upgrading their capability to quickly identify disease hotspots would be crucial. So what we did was develop a data logging mobile application using relatively simple technology that enables healthcare workers to collect testing results in real time that can be aggregated into a virtual dashboard at the national level. Time is critical during an outbreak, and this relatively straightforward, simple intervention allowed them to take the necessary measures in those targeted areas with that real-time information. We also supplemented that IT service with a more sensitive diagnostic test that could detect low-level infection and help clear the reservoirs of the parasites that spread this horrible disease. The Ministry of Health performed a study that combined our new test with that mobile app that we developed for them. The results were incredibly positive. The new approach significantly increased case findings, leading to the elimination of parasite reservoirs through treatment of asymptomatic patients and linking people to care. The simplicity of these two technologies also allowed for the utilization of service providers with no clinical training to play the leading role in implementing malaria elimination strategies. This is one example, but I think it's one that's illustrative of the real opportunity for US companies operating in Africa, because there is this, understanding that you have to provide more than just, a product at a low cost. You have to provide a product at a appropriate price point, but you have to deliver it in a way that's really appropriate for the local context. And there are technologies, on the shelf that are relatively inexpensive, but it's kind of putting together that value proposition that works in Africa for the African context and really addresses the needs that your local partner has identified for you. And I think through initiatives like Prosper Africa, there is a great opportunity to utilize, a whole of government suite of services that we have with the US government. And certainly with new institutions like the US Development Finance Corporation, as well as our traditional global health development agencies, USTDA, the State Department, obviously, because we rely heavily on our US missions on the ground. I think there's a great opportunity, not just to grow US business in Africa, but to really kind of bend the curve in some of these fundamental healthcare challenges. So I look forward to hearing some of the proposals discussed today. And again, appreciate you inviting me to participate.
Thank you, Jason. We appreciate those comments. As I was prepping for today's event, the phrases that kept coming to mind were serial entrepreneur and experience across multiple industries, because all of the business leaders today exhibit those descriptions. Those descriptions fit really well with all of them. They are entrepreneurs that have started multiple companies, but they also have that focus and that mission-driven approach that allows them to be successful. And if there's one thing that I think many of us have learned from working in Africa, is that you need to have lots of tools in your toolkit to be successful. This is a challenging environment, and I'm sure all these entrepreneurs could regale us with many stories of all the things they've had to deal with that they didn't expect. But all of them have continued to not just survive, but thrive in this environment. So we're very excited to showcase them today. We're going to start with Vivian from MedSaf. MedSaf is an enterprise solution for healthcare stakeholders that allows them to purchase, manage, and track medications through complicated supply chains. Using data analytics and technology, MedSaf increases access, affordability, and ensures the quality of medications throughout the healthcare system in Nigeria. MedSaf was launched in 2017. Vivian is a first-generation Nigerian who grew up in Chicago and has launched multiple businesses in her career. We've asked each of the companies to give very brief descriptions of themselves, limiting it to 5 minutes, because we want to leave ample time at the end for engagement with the audience through Q&A. Please do, if you have questions throughout, please do utilize the chat function. We'll be monitoring that, and we'll be pulling questions from that directly at the Q&A. Vivian, over to you. Thank you.
Hello, hello everyone. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. And as was stated, yes, I'm from the US, I'm from Chicago. This is an American company. So it means a lot to be able to speak to you all today about what I've built in Africa and in Nigeria specifically. So MedSaf is, oh wait, 1 second, let's just get that, sorry. Let's just, Sorry, let's go. All right. So MedZaf is a one-stop shop for pharmaceutical needs in Africa. You can consider us the Amazon of pharmaceuticals. So this is the open drug market in Nigeria. It's what I found on ground back in 2017. And about 30 to 40% of all medications sold in Nigeria are fake or substandard. But you have to understand that this is a homegrown solution to a massive issue that impacts Africa the hardest. So think about stockouts, price fluctuation, unavailability, fake drugs. This all makes it hard to have good patient care. So we are using technology to disrupt the old infrastructure. And this is the moment in time built off of the backs of the of the banking industry and the telecoms. This is our moment in time to do that. And we're creating a new, transparent, and safe way to move medications. And I'm most excited about all of the new markets that we can create with this added level of transparency. So at MedZaf, we're aggregating medications. We're performing quality control as a service. We plug in logistics providers and financing. We have 5 layers of redundancy for every medication that we sell. And I think some of our moats include our quality control as well as our supplier network to know where any medication is at any given moment in time. And of course, our vision is to have a one-click for medications to arrive to the hospitals and pharmacies without thinking. So this is just kind of a demo of our platform. It works the normal way that an e-commerce platform would work, right? But I want to show you some of the intricacies that we've actually built solutions for. So everything obviously connects to our back end of our platform, but look at this. This is an actual average order. It has 500 medications in here. They're coming from hundreds of different sources, and we have to deliver this within 24 to 48 hours. So now you can understand some of the hurdles of how to service African hospitals and pharmacies. And so what we are doing is using demand planning as well as inventory management and building technology around how to make it as efficient and easy as possible for a customer pharmacy to know what medications they need just in time. And we're using QR codes. We want to use QR codes as well as other ways to kind of track medications all the way down to the end. So this is an example of a medication being delivered to a hospital and pharmacy. And so think about that market that you saw earlier. We are changing the game of how hospitals and pharmacies receive their medications and the medications that they dispense. So MedZaf, we launched in 2017 in R&D phase. We were the first company to ever build a fintech solution for hospitals and pharmacies. We recognized that that was an important piece of this business. And back then, medications took 5 to 7 days to aggregate and deliver, and that was industry standard. By 2019, we had reduced our process to 48 hours. We had to 48 hours with some of the largest hospitals and pharmacies across Lagos. During COVID-19, we were able to scale to 7 states just off the back of our platform and the MedZaf brand. And currently we're raising our pre-Series A. So just some of our history. So back in 2017, we were at 70,000. Last year, we did 906,000. And some of the things I'm most excited about are the fact that last year we lent about $780,000 worth of medications with an open receivables to debt ratio of 0.05%. That is way below any type of industry standards because we have the right processes and framework in place to service these hospitals in the right way. So we're making money from every pharmaceutical transaction on the platform. And our goal is to direct and influence the flow of medications across Africa. We don't want medications to move without MedZaf's stamp of approval. And if you look at us 5 years from now, you'll see that our supplier network is much more advanced. We're in multiple countries across Africa, and we're being able to finance the GMV that moves through our platform. We've had a lot of great things happen to us. We have some of the largest partnerships with global pharma, with large insurance companies, NGOs, and these are all partnerships that we will leverage to scale and get ready for our Series A by the end of this year. We're currently raising about $1.5 million. We're almost done with that raise, so don't miss out on it. If you want to be part of it, please reach out to me. But this is the moment in history this is the moment in history for MedZaf to really fully realize what we set out to build back in 2017. And that is a scalable platform solution for hospital and pharmacy procurement. And of course, I have actually built home healthcare agencies in Illinois and Indiana. So that's my healthcare background. But when I moved to Nigeria in 2013, I actually helped build solar companies. And that was my first business, and MedZaf is now my third. And my partner, OK, has over 20 years of experience working with technology companies and building out platforms. But I think what's most important is that we have now today 28 pharmacists, mostly pharmacists, who work in the MedZaf warehouse and through all various processes to ensure that our hospitals and pharmacies get exactly what they need. So thank you so much. I hope that that was helpful.
It was very helpful, and
okay.
Thank you. I really appreciate you running through that quickly, and amazing to see the difference between the supply chain of pre-MedZaf and now post-MedZaf.
5 to 7 days. A lot of it was easier to go to the open drug market, and 100% of our hospitals said that they went to the open drug market to purchase their medications when we launched, and now they rely on MedZaf. So we have made an impact, and we're looking for support so that we can make an even bigger impact across Nigeria. And as of this week, we're actually in 15 states. So we've even grown since December.
Great, impressive. I'm going to turn now to Karen Hendrickson, who is the CEO of Rabito Clinic in Ghana. Rubito is one of Ghana's oldest and most trusted private medical operators. It's also kind of the core brand of Africa Health Holdings in Ghana. Karen draws upon her vast experience from banking, insurance, from healthcare, from management consultant, from public policy. She's a real example of needing to bring all the tools to the table. Africa Health Holdings combines both physical clinics as well as integrated e-health solutions as it delivers on its mission to bring quality and affordable healthcare to the masses in Africa. Karen, thank you for joining us today, and the floor is yours. I see you're on mute, so if you want to unmute yourself, love to hear more about Africa Health Holdings.
Okay, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Stephen. I'm delighted to be here. I'm just setting my timer because, yes, sometimes I get quite passionate and I can go on for hours. Welcome to everyone who's on the platform. And as Stephen said, I am the CEO of one of the brands that Africa Health Holdings actually has in its portfolio. But let me talk a little bit about Africa Health Holdings so that you can get a more robust perspective as to how we fit together. In a nutshell, Africa Health Holdings is simply working to build Africa's healthcare system. And there are many, many moving parts, as we just heard from Vivian. And Africa Health Holdings is looking at the entire spectrum. But they have 3 core areas in Africa that they are currently working in right now, and that's Ghana, Nigeria, as well as Kenya. And we are a team of passionate individuals focused on simply implementing highly efficient, effective ways of the population getting health care. We recognize that the healthcare system is broken in many places. And as a result of that, people withhold or deny themselves health care for as long as possible to avoid the pain of having to go to a facility, wait sometimes for the whole day. You may or may not see a doctor, and then at the end, you may or may not get real drugs that will solve your problem. So at Africa Health Holding, we've been looking at the various problems and by either acquiring or organically setting up several health facilities, we have started to make impact in a real way in the areas where we currently operate. So let me tell you a little bit more using Rabito Clinic as an example. Rabito Clinic is one of their largest brands, and we currently have 20 facilities spread across the country. But more importantly, we have been in operation for over 47 years. And you can imagine the literally millions of lives in all these branches that we have impacted. Our founder and chairman of the board, he's also chairman of the Africa Health Holdings, he has been actively working on providing quality health care across Ghana for at least 50 years. Now, in doing that, it has allowed Africa Health Holdings to have a reservoir of clinical information to help us better serve our clients and to share that information with our other portfolios that we have. So in the interest of time, which is going really quickly, Africa Health Holdings is in the process of being a disruptor in many spaces within the healthcare community. So for instance, in addition to standalone clinics and hospitals, which we have also introduced pharmacies, telemedicine. We're looking at artificial intelligence because there's such a shortage of doctors, particularly in the rural areas where we operate. And we have been deploying these services as over the last 4.5 to 5 years under the umbrella of Africa Health Holdings. And we right now are currently looking for investments that will help us further this. Our vision is even bigger than what we have. We're also looking at the wellness space, the diabetic space. And for that, we will require investments that will help us not only provide additional services, but be able to take the vast amount of information we have that goes back 50 years and put that in a searchable database. So our needs are great and we're doing a lot of innovative things. And I'd love to talk to additional individuals and or investors so they can look at the plethora of health-related opportunities that Africa Health Holdings is spearheading. And we're done. That's my alarm.
Thank you. I appreciate the timer, the self-regulation. That was excellent. Thank you for that. We're gonna next move on to Captain Elias Kadima of TKBD Medical. Captain Elias is an accomplished commercial pilot and an instructor for Ethiopian Airlines. He has obviously used his downtime between flights very well as he and his wife together with their colleagues have conceived and launched multiple successful food and services businesses in Ethiopia. It makes me think about maybe I should be using my time in airport lounges much more effectively, Captain. His latest venture, TKBD Medical Supplies, addresses the shortfall of protective medical equipment across Africa and creates an African solution to address this critical need. Captain Elias, the floor is yours. And you're on mute, sir.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Stephen, thank you very much for the chance, and it's a great pleasure to be here. Like you mentioned, I'm a senior captain in Ethiopian Airlines for the last 31 years. Together with my wife, we've built a scalable coffee shop chain, the largest coffee shop chain in Ethiopia. Because of supply chain issues as well, we've managed to backward integrate and then created an agro industry the last 10 years or so. The last 5, 6 years, we've been also in the restaurant business. We have a chain of three restaurants, Italian restaurants, high-end restaurants. So we've been in this industry for almost 15 years altogether. And because of COVID, we've started a new venture, TKVD Medical Supplies and Equipment Manufacturing Distribution PLC. We're mainly focusing on PPE. We see that as an opportunity because of COVID. We've seen since last March, only in China, they've produced over 20,000 medical mask manufacturing machines, and all those machines, some of them are distributed throughout Africa. And all these companies in Africa, they rely mainly on importing of all the raw materials for producing those medical masks. That is a big gap we saw. And because of that, we're trying to fill in the gap. If not, at least it requires about 5 or 6 types of ingredients to produce a medical mask. But we saw one opportunity on the most important part of the medical mask, which is the filtration material, the middle layer filtration. It's called melt blown. It's easily made of a plastic material, heated and blown, and small filaments and made into a sheet that is used for filtration in the medical mask. We will set up this manufacturing plant in Ethiopia because in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, we have a large industrial park mainly designed for pharmaceutical and medical supplies. We see that as a good chance. And because of the large network of Ethiopian airlines, we believe it's easier to move around materials in Africa. So we're planning to do that. So phase 0, that's the opportunity we see. Phase 0, we've already structured a line to act as a broker with one European company and another one from China to test the market. So we are right now engaged with those 2 companies to see if the market actually exists. And then we have identified dozens of companies in Africa, mainly from South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and Ethiopia. We've already contacted dozens of companies who have interest to procure these materials from these companies. Phase 1 will be, we'll produce this masks, melt blown materials from within Ethiopia, and then it will be a AN 14683, the normal, the standard surgical mask filtration type. And the phase 2 will be probably going into, if there is a lot of requirement on that side as well, we'll be going to the more sophisticated respirator, FFP2, FFP3, or N95 kind of filtration materials. So, yeah, we have identified the opportunity. Yeah, there is an Africa business with mitigation plans. There is power interruption. We always plan for generator backups. We're expecting an election this year. Probably some political issues will be there. We don't expect any turmoil, but probably there will be some interruptions of communications, internet, those kind of things. We have a plan since we have also a restaurant inside the Africa Union. We have access to continuous internet access in the compound. We see that as well as a risk mitigation plan. Traction, we have already in the business, we're already producing medical masks. We're distributing through the Ministry of Health. Melt blow will be produced already in Europe and China. We're already engaged in selling those materials to those companies. We'll need to raise about $2 million to go forward on this project. And we're very serious inquiries for the most sophisticated, the N95 type of filtration. For that, we are also probably, if we go into that side, we probably need to raise about $5 million. That is what we're looking for, and that's what we're trying to do. Thank you, Stephen.
No, thank you, Captain Elias. And have you identified, U.S. equipment suppliers as well as U.S. investors?
Yes, we have identified the U.S. equipment suppliers, but not investors yet.
Okay, that's good to know. So an opportunity both for trade and investment in this particular transaction. Next, I'm going to turn the floor over to Michael Landau of CTI Life Health. Here I go with that serial entrepreneur tag again, but certainly this one fits for Michael. He is a technology entrepreneur who has worked in financial services and information security, as well as in healthcare. I'm sure I'm missing some, Michael. His company, CTI Life Health, is a holistic digital health platform that really is designed for underserved markets globally. They are launching initially in Uganda with a number of multinational local partners, I believe including Abbott, if I'm not mistaken, Michael. And so, Michael, the floor is yours. Please let us know, please tell us a little bit about your company and what you're looking to raise.
Okay, so thank you very much, Stephen. I'm going to take a page from Karen's book, and I've started my own timer over here. So thank you, Karen, and the other presenters. Thank you very much for kind of paving the way and for clearly outlining the major issues that Africa is facing, where there's a tremendous lack of access to healthcare, access to quality products, access to doctors, etc. I'm going to share my screen, and I don't know if it's going to work. I hope it does. Is it working? Yeah. So basically, CTI we're a social enterprise, American social enterprise company. Our first, going back in history, back to 2007, 8, 9, I built the first mobile banking platforms, and probably somewhere in the world. So we're called M-Sente at the same time as M-Pesa was being launched in Kenya. So we've got a lot of experience in history. And one of the things that I learned over time is the importance of holistic solutions. And not only having holistic solutions, that you can't just do healthcare without agriculture, without education, or without, everything goes together in the African environment if you want to be able to socially empower the people. And that beyond that, you also have to be very aware of the complete the ecosystems, because you're only as strong as your weakest link in any of the areas that you work in. So it's very important that you've really got good control of the environment. And as Jason from Abbott was saying before, it's important that when you're providing a solution, it's not just a little piece of something much bigger. You're actually creating something that's needed, and you're helping them with providing the need. So the problem is, is reasonably self-evident. And investment proposition, if somebody likes what we're doing, we'll come back to be able to reach out to me. But basically, what CTI has done is we've created what we call Healthcare 3.0. And Healthcare 3.0, what we've done is we tried to position ourselves into the 20, 30 years into the future. And what do we see? What are people going to be expecting and demanding, and what technology is going to be available? And as we see it, every patient is going to want to have complete instant access to all of their medical history, their medical information. They're going to want to have artificial intelligence, do analytics, and give them, their current health status report based on their vitals and based on their blood. People are going to want to be able to have an integration with their genomics so that they know what their proclivities are for the future. And patients are going to want to be able to click a button and speak to any doctor anytime, whenever they want to, subject obviously to doctors' availabilities. And on the flip side, the doctors are going to want to be able to have full access to the patient's information instantly. And there's going to be also a lot of research. People want to be able to kind of avoid the various diseases, cut out different diseases. So effectively, that's what CTI has done, and that's what we're piloting in Uganda today. So you've got the combination of the digital healthcare from the patient's perspective, and from the perspective of the hospitals, and then you've got a lot of other stakeholders. And we've tried to create our program as a big win-win for all the different stakeholders that are involved in the whole process. So whether it's the insurance companies that want to make sure that the people that they've got information on their clients to make sure that they have a healthier life. It's for the pharmacies to make sure that they can be delivering the right products, the right drugs to the right people. If it's the companies that, if it's governments, they want data. If it's the donors, they want to make sure that the drugs and that the vaccinations that they're providing reach the right people. So our three pillars of our healthcare 3.0 are the digital healthcare, the AI technology and the machine learning, and the research and development. So as we refer to that, I know I'm always run out of time, so we talk already about some of our partnerships in all of these areas. So we're working very closely with Abbott, and I believe that kind of Nikos reached out to you, Jason, also just to give you a little heads up. So we're working very closely with Abbott, both on our Alin IQ system and also kind of on the lab systems. And in fact, it was Abbott then introduced us to Zebra Lancet, but we can't talk about them too much because they are not an American company. We're also working very closely with Illumina. Illumina are the world's largest genomics company, so we're going to be building a lab together with Illumina. And IBM are our partner for all of our core technology and for our security and our data and our cloud. And so we're trying to bring the best of America into Africa. But as you quickly see, these are a couple of the quick screenshots of the apps that the patients have got and that they can use. It's a very easy workable system. And okay, my machine is telling me that I'm over. All right, and this is like a little bit of a mind map of how our system works. This is a connection of how the Life Health Consortium interacts, kind of with the different players. This is the proposition to all the different partners that are involved in our platform. And we have an MOU with the Ministry of Health, and we're working very closely with lots of UN entities because of the holistic nature of our platform and because of the quality of our partners. We're looking to raise $5 to $10 million so that we can do some rapid scaling. And we're always looking for good partnerships with good companies so that we don't have an exclusivity kind of on brain power or on good quality products. We're creating the platform that we invite everybody to come and to participate on our platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you to all the panelists for moving through at a very rapid clip and leaving us 15 minutes plus for Q&A. We're right on schedule. I said 20 minutes, but I was hoping for 15. So thank you for that. We have some questions in the chat. I would encourage the audience to write any additional questions they may have. I guess maybe I'll start with the obvious one for each of the panelists, which would be, what is the biggest way that COVID-19 has affected your business or your business plans? Maybe we'll start. Maybe we'll start with the same order. So Vivian, maybe we'll go with you first, then Karen, then Captain Elias, then back to Michael. So the biggest factor of COVID, the one thing that's changed your business the most.
So the biggest impact of COVID on our business is that our original plan was to set up offices in the various regions that we wanted to expand to across Nigeria. COVID-19 allowed us to expand across Nigeria without moving from our living rooms. So we were able to acquire some of the largest hospitals in Abuja, in Niger State, Kwara State, so some of these harder to reach places, Delta State, all the way over to Imo State. So basically across Nigeria. And so it allowed us to improve our capabilities and our relationships with our logistics suppliers. We ship in motorcycles, trucks, cars, vans, planes, and it allowed us to get a better efficiency in that perspective. So for us, what we knew back in 2016 was that the future of pharmaceutical procurement in an African context will be digital. And so we built the infrastructure, the database, and now the technology around all of the various pieces that need to be in place. And so we saw expansion, though I will say that hospitals and pharmacies, obviously the entire industry was depressed, right? So, people were not going to the hospital, average order sizes reduced, but we were still able to expand our business in one of in this massive crisis due to intention. And I think that that's, one thing that people need to understand about, building a business in Africa is what's your intention? Are you very clear on what you're trying to do and how you're trying to solve it? And do you have the resilient nature to keep pushing forward? So COVID-19 brought the future to the now, and that is MedZaf as the leader of pharmaceutical tech in Africa. So thank you.
Thank you, Karen. You described earlier in your remarks that telehealth solution was a nice to have, but now it's become a need to have. So maybe you can maybe talk about that impact on COVID, and you also are on mute currently.
Okay, thank you for that. We entered 2020 in Africa Health Holdings, Rabito, CarePoint, and Meridian with a lot of wonderful plans. And as a CEO, my mandate was to organically open 5 new clinics, 5 new standalone pharmacies, and 10 quick labs. That was my mandate, and everything was lined up and ready to go. And then the pandemic hit, and our major cities were put under lockdown. So that immediately, and like Vivian just said, patients just were not coming. Some branches would go from, say, 50 to 80 patients a day down to 1 or 2. So it was a real crisis moment for us. But then we noticed that our telemedicine had really started to spike. And I would say they went up by 200% per month, where people who had remembered seeing the adverts in our branches and at various location points suddenly now were calling for things. And it revealed to us that not only did the service had now come of age, but it also, truth be told, indicated that there were, if you will, cracks in our system, because we hadn't expected to spike so quickly. So you can imagine in the middle of lockdown in Accra, we had to purchase additional bikes, hire people who couldn't make it to the facility for interviews, and also didn't have strong enough internet to do a Zoom call. But all of these challenges, my leadership team and ourselves, we were able to work out, and within a matter of days, really get our telemedicine piece up to the where we needed to be able to meet demand. And it taught us a lot, that flexibility and willing to get things done, even if it means going outside of our normal parameters of how we work, really, really helped us make it through March, April, May, which were very, very difficult months because of the lockdown.
Thank you, Karen. Captain Elias, your business was kind of born as a result of COVID. I wonder maybe you could just give the audience some context. It's just, how big is the shortfall of critical PPE in places like Ethiopia, and how difficult it is to, how expensive it is to acquire those critical materials? Looks like you may be frozen. So we'll give you a second maybe to come back online. Michael, over to you. Same question. What's been the biggest impact of COVID on your business and planning for your business?
So again, I'm going to take the liberty here and share my screen for a second. So we are a little, I don't want to say kind of opportunist, right? Because that would not be a kind of a right word to use. But when problems arise, we come up with solutions. So the first thing that we did back, kind of 7-8 months ago is that we built an app for the government, a COVID self-assessment app for the government that they launched with major fanfare in the country. We even made a special cartoon with a local character to be able to educate people all about the all about the COVID, the app, etc. And then what we've done now is we've gone and created a special COVID vaccination recording app, because within our application, we've already got a vaccination recording app, which is very simple to use. So we've gone and created something for the COVID. So again, anybody out there watching that's looking for solutions for their country, we are open for business. So this just gives you a drop of background of, kind of the information that's needed. And then it's designed that it's a vaccine for the vaccine givers, how easy it is to be enrolled and then to enroll individual people into the vaccine record making system, right? And then you can very easily kind of go and enroll them. You take a picture of the QR code. So that way all of that information is recorded. The vaccine receiver now has got his own QR code that he can now know that he was vaccinated, prove that he was vaccinated. And then the third party app is already one that a third party, whether it's an airport, whether it's an immigration, or whether it's a hospital, or if it's a sports arena that wants to verify, kind of were you vaccinated or not, they can quickly, easily scan the app. And then of course there's the whole back end dashboarding of all the information that the government and any regulator or anybody can be able to see kind of all of the information that's collected at the back. So we've understood, kind of that COVID creates challenges, but it also creates needs. And, kind of that's where we look for CTI to be able to play that critical role, to be able to come up with, within this holistic healthcare digital infrastructure, what are the solutions that we can be providing people? And obviously the telemedicine is, everybody is now more aware, telemedicine is necessary. So it's just refined and honed, kind of the needs from our perspective.
Thanks, Michael. Pulling your question from the chat around the future of testing for diseases and building cross-network databases for hospitals. Jason, this is obviously an area where Abbott's been at the forefront. I wonder if maybe you could answer that question, take the first stab at answering that question, and then maybe we'll ask Vivian to talk about how she could kind of utilize her back-end hospital management, inventory management to do more kind of databases for testing. So, Jason? Jason, if you're speaking, you're on mute. If you're not available, maybe Vivian, I'll go to you and we'll see if Jason can follow you.
Yeah, so I know that I had to give kind of a quick overview of what MedZap is. But if you think about all of the opportunities, sorry, is there someone? If you think about all the opportunities that we have to actually reach the decision makers throughout the chain, they're vast. And what we're doing is creating a database that can help large, global pharma and local pharma manufacturers to actually understand what's going on, the dispensing habits, and how they may or may not need to improve how they either teach or give information or even price the medications to stakeholders. So that is something that MedZap has the capability to do today. And in our current raise, we're building the technology to make it more automatic to support pharmaceutical manufacturers in providing the right medications to healthcare stakeholders. Because I think the overall issue is information and access. And if you remember, part of our mission is to increase access of medications. And the reason that there isn't access is there's a lack of information on what's actually necessary. And so if you can reduce the barrier to teaching and providing information and helping doctors or procurement managers actually understand the impact of what they're involved in and the opportunities that might be out there, that's how we can get, global pharma and local manufacturers to really rally around increasing access. So that's how I see it from a pharmaceutical distribution perspective.
Great. Thanks, Vivian. We're joined not just by Anne today, but also a number of Anne's colleagues. And I wonder if I can maybe put you on the spot for a minute and talk a little bit more about other ways that Prosper Africa can help support these companies just beyond the VDR. Maybe giving some examples of the other types of support that are available. That would be great. Anne, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd actually love to turn to John Hansen for this because he's very intimate with all these tools and I think would do a great job sharing more.
Sure. Good morning, afternoon, everybody. John Hansen, I'm the coordinator for the Interagency Prosper Africa Deal Team here in Washington. The toolkit that we have, which comprises, it's a compendium of services and other sorts of things the US government can do to promote two-way trade and investment between the United States and Africa, it's replete. It's quite full. We have over 60 different services that can be provided by the various member agencies. Many of you are familiar with the types of things that, say, the US Trade Development Agency can do to support US exporters with early stage project preparatory assistance, or with lending that can come for exports from the Export-Import Bank of the US, or for investments from the Development Finance Corporation. There are too many to go through today, but our effort is to try to figure out how to best convey all of that information to prospective exporters and investors who are looking at Africa. And the way we're doing that in one sense is through the VDR, which we've been speaking about here today, but also through direct communication and coordination among the interagency members. Another element of the initiative that we aren't talking about as much today, but that you might like to know about, is our effort to try to promote African exports and African investment in the United States. We can leave that for a deeper dive later. Over.
Thank you, John. We maybe have time for one more question. Captain Elias, I think you're back online. We lost you for a second. I'd asked the question just about kind of the impact of COVID and how difficult and how expensive it is to acquire this critical PPE in Ethiopia. I wonder if you can maybe answer that. Just give the audience the context of the scale of the challenge and the importance of what you're trying to do to create the local supply.
Yeah, COVID impacted us back in March with our company. We were mainly in the service industry, food industry. Because of the lockdown, our business dropped down to about 20% of our normal operation. So this opportunity was created immediately after that. But we realized, back in March, in May, when we wanted to start this medical mask manufacturing, this critical element of the mask, which is the melt blown, was very, very in shortage all over the world. In Europe, it was in China, everywhere. A ton of this medical mask, at some point, it was sold at $90,000 per ton. That is a lot of money, because normally now it should be on the market about $8,000-9,000. So we saw that, and of course, sometimes the waiting line for that material was minimum of 1 or 2 months. So it was very, very critical part of the mask, but it was not available. Besides, Africa is way far from Asia or Europe. The transit time to get those materials all the way to Africa requires a minimum of 2 to 3 months transit time only. So we need to have ingrown, in-house source of this material for Africa. That's how we see it.
Thank you, Captain. Looks like our time is just about up today. Certainly, I want to thank all of the participants today, including the audience, for joining us. As we mentioned up front, we've recorded this, so the recording will be available. Big thank you to Prosper Africa, not just for hosting today, but just really for their leadership as we tackle this important issue of increasing that two-way trade between the US and Africa. The great thing about events like this is I oftentimes find that the panelists themselves connect, and I think there's some good opportunities for the 4 panelists to work together, as well as coordinating with the colleagues on the continent and the US government, both in Washington, DC, as well as the local missions, which really are a critical outlet of support and service to African companies looking to engage in the US, but also for US investors investing on the continent. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. I would encourage all of you to go to the Prosper Africa virtual deal room and register your interest. That will also give you access to future events. As I mentioned up front, our next event is going to be on female founders and female entrepreneurs. And there's a huge gap. I mean, I think the latest statistic that I saw that of all the companies that were funded in Africa last year, only 14% were female founded and female leadership. And we know that there's way more female entrepreneurs out there than just 14%. So that event will really kind of focus on understanding why that's the case, but also connecting investors to those entrepreneurs and making sure that they understand and know of these great opportunities. So with that, thank you for joining us. It's been a real pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you at future events. Take care.
Thank you.
All right.